Yes, I'm in the collective gang. I seek forgiveness for a misdemeanor which I committed around 20 years ago, and for which I have felt guilt ever since. Well, most of the time. My wife and I have been married for nearly 30 years, and in all this time I have been unable to confess my dreadful sin to her. For some crazy reason, I wish to do it now via BBC Radio 2. Let me set the scene. My wife loves crisps and cannot resist a bag of her favourite brand, which rhymes with Talkers. I don't know why you just say they're Walker's crisps. That's what she likes. We've tried other more sophisticated snacks. Cheese puffs, crispy onion rings, Monster Munch, Stackers, Pringles, prawn crackers. But no, she loves ordinary crisps so much that she always tips the bag into her mouth at the end of the packet to get all the small crumbs that congregate at the bottom. The best bit, she says. I think that's right. Doesn't everyone do that?
That's the accepted etiquette, I think, for crisps.
Yeah, I think everyone does that. I, however, says Mark, leave these crumbs and just eat the crisps.
What?
My wife cannot believe I would do such a thing and is happy to tip the remains of my packet into her mouth after I have finished. She says it's concentrated goodness, 10 times the flavour in a tiny mouthful, probably 10 times the salt as well, so maybe that's a thing to consider. On the day in question, I had been out in the garden digging, and as any gardener will tell you, the garden air containing molecules of soil is usually found in your nostrils in large amounts at the end of the day. Can I just check that with my resident gardener?
Say it again.
The soil, basically the Mark's theory is the garden air whilst you're out digging contains molecules of soil, and a lot of it finds its way into your nose
or in your ear.
I don't know this.
Have you never thrown a sod of oil, sod of mud, and then found some in your hair?
No, I haven't done that. I've got under my nails. My nails are disgusting.
Yes.
Loads of mud under there.
Okay, well,
up the nose.
When Mark does his gardening, for some reason, half the garden ends up his nose.
I think you're doing it wrong, Mark.
I think probably, yes. You're supposed to do it with your hands. That evening, we were watching television, Brookside, I think it was. Yes. We both had a packet of crisps and a beer, like you do. But as I was just about to empty the last of mine into my mouth, I had a sudden urge to sneeze. Now, call me lazy, but I couldn't be bothered. See, that's the point. Call me lazy, but I couldn't be bothered to get a tissue. So everything went into my not quite empty packet of crisps, and then I put it on the side until later when I would get up and put the packet in the bin.
I feel sick.
Off the phone now, my wife finished her crisps, tipped her bag into her mouth as usual, and after a short while, before I could say anything or do anything, picked up my bag and immediately tipped the contents into her mouth before I could stop her. Cheese and onion, I think. Didn't matter by then. I stared at her in horror. She said, "What's the matter?" I thought very carefully, and then I said, "Nothing." For the last 10 minutes of Brookside, I stifled my chuckles, or even stifled my chackles, even having to leave the room on a number of occasions to release my chortles. Many times since that day, I've considered admitting my misdemeanor, but thought that the outcome, as well as upsetting my wife, could possibly end our marriage. Since that day, my wife has consumed numerous packets of crisps during our TV time together, and every time she does the same. She tips the remaining contents of her bag into my mouth. I cannot help but smirk at the memory, even though I am honestly remorseful. I thought your listeners may have a similar situation happen to them and will understand, but then again, probably not. I wish you to consider my confession and grant me forgiveness, as my wife never will. Well, Mark's wife has just found out. I reckon she could probably identify herself from that. I don't know. I think this is pretty unforgivable. You could easily have said, just don't do that. You could have snatched it away. But no, you chose to carry on, Mark. And I think the wrath of Bobby Pryor is coming your way after Joe has spoken first.
See, he says that there will be other people that have done this kind of thing, that this will have happened to. A, I'm not aware of the soil up the nose thing. B, sneezing into a crisp packet, not so sure. And he could easily have lunged across the room just to grab the crisp packet before she did it. I mean, easily. So he could have prevented that from happening 100%. The only redeeming factor is that he's a Brookie fan, and I love Brookie. Bobby, Sheila, Barry, Sinbad. It's all coming back to me now.
Sinbad? Was there a Sinbad?
Yeah, window cleaner. He was great.
Was it?
Yeah. Anyway, so maybe just today, maybe I'll forgive.
Just because Mark's a Brookie fan?
Yep. That's
My
it.
goodness
Forgive
me.
him.
All right, okay.
And I love crisps as well. I don't pour them into my mouth though. I like pouring out the packet and then dabbing my finger and dabbing the crisps and then
That's-
putting that into my mouth.
That's ladylike, that is. That's what that is.
Never said I was a lady.
Well, the thing is, Mark, you talk of guilt, you talk of remorsefulness, but you're still laughing. The other thing you've done is you've waited 20 years to tell your wife. Either don't tell her at all, ever. Why are you waiting 20 years if you think it will end in divorce? You've just taken 20 years of her life from her. Now you've used it all up and now you're telling her. So if she wanted to go, she could have gone ages ago, but now she's stuck with you after 20 years. And what does she do with this information? Very little. The only thing you can do is promise to buy her loads more crisps of her favourite flavours. That's all I can think you can do. And actually, not eat crisps. Give up crisps for a year and I might forgive you. Give her your crisps.
Bit harsh.
That's what you should do. You're not forgiven. That's what it is, Mark. You're not forgiven.